We ought to spend more time downstairs in the main bar, because these are the kind of discussions I get into with others. I always reserve the right to be wrong, but I also reserve the right to respectfully disagree. And where I take issue with you is recently declassified information shows and confirms that MacArthur in Japan actually approved and authorized Japanese troops fight alongside Chiang Kai-shek against the communists because they are commies. And I think from all the historical reading that I have done, it is very clear that basically America decided it was going to stick with Chiang Kai-shek, and it was going to basically build a military base in Taiwan. That's not why he fired him. He didn't fire him because he told the Japanese to go fight alongside Chiang Kai-shek. He fired him because he wanted to nuke China. We have to look at why he was fired. I mean, MacArthur got a little out of hand there, so we have to look at the underlying reasons. And that's why I say I'd love to have these ongoing discussions with you at the bar downstairs, because that's what makes for a good cocktail hour, as I point out in the book.
All right, let's have a few others who might take issue with Peter, and you can't refer it to the main bar. Marty.
Getting back to Taiwan, I have to confess to having a soft spot, having lived there for 10 years. And I really can't see the overwhelming advantage of Taiwan unifying with China just now. I rather like Li Denghui's formulation that Ma Ying-jeou himself reiterated recently, that we'll talk about reunification as soon as China has full and democratic elections. And while they've got 1,500 missiles pointed at Taiwan, and I wonder how many military targets there are in Taiwan that justify 1,500 missiles. It's just not nice. It's just not a nice thing to do to your neighbour. And especially seeing you're talking about being related. You don't do that to your kith and kin. It's all just too nasty. So the status quo, which the majority of people in Taiwan who have actually visited China will say, it's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. There's no advantage to changing the status quo just yet.
Like I said, unification is a matter of time. I did not say either country is ready for it yet, because I don't think they are. What I get into in more detail in the book, because it's a comment that both of you have addressed, is that the one country, two system model that works for Hong Kong can work between Taiwan and China. I don't think there's any question that both sides will eventually reunite. The only question is when and under what circumstances. And I can't disagree with either one of you that the quote-unquote Taiwanese, as opposed to the Chinese, are not ready or willing for that reunion now. However, if you look at all the religious or major religious leaders and major industrialists, they are advocating reunification, and the discussions taking place between both parties are tackling that very issue. Will it happen tomorrow? No. Will it happen quicker if the U.S. were to say to Taiwan, guess what, guys? We're not going to come to your defense if you declare independence. You're on your own. And guess what, guys? Per Reagan's 1982 communique, we're not going to sell you any more arms. I think that'll bring about reunification a lot quicker, and on terms that both sides agree to, and will make China a lot more amenable to talking to North Korea to end that problem on that front. That is the point I was making regarding Taiwan and China. As long as the U.S. keeps promoting arms sales and claims it'll come to the defense of Taiwan, that does not serve U.S.-China relations.
Before we continue, I've forgotten my watch. What time is it, Peter?
It's almost 10 to.
Okay, we've got a good 10 minutes here anyways. Yes.
You mentioned about the misunderstanding of the press about China in the United States, which we can understand. But when the two countries, U.S. and China, if they cooperate, get together, what will the Japanese think and the Korean think? It seems nowadays, India, Korea, South Korea, and then Japan, they don't want the two countries get together. How can American deal with this problem?
That's a good question, and that's what makes geopolitics so much fun for those of us who are political scientists. Every country does what it perceives to be in its best national interest. It is not in Japan's national interest to see China and the US become friends. It is not in India's national interest to see the two become friends. However, let's look at what's in the best interests of the US and China, not Japan and India. And if we look at what is in the best interest of those two countries, you look at who is America's number one banker among those three. It's China. You look at who wants to buy a lot of the high-tech products that the U.S. produces, that the U.S. now only sells to Japan and some to Korea and India. By basically making China, admitting China as a market economy and opening up some of the banned products that can be sold, the deficit can be reduced dramatically. The fear is, well, they'll get all this technology that America has that China can't get. Well, China's getting it anyway if it's not from Europe or other sources. And all one has to do is look at how far China has come without direct American support. Whether it's on the supercomputer, whether it's on planes, whether it's on drones, you look at any of those fields, China's doing fine with non-American products. So how does that benefit America? Talk about a deficit, talk in trade, you talk about deficit spending, a lot of it on military in this area. It is in America's best interest and China's best interest to work together. And you know what? Japan, Korea, and India will fall into line as long as they know that America's in the region and has a presence here and is not excluded from the region. What is happening, the way America is trying to remain in the region by forming an alliance with Japan and trying to encircle China within, trying to drag India along that's not really interested, is not in the interest of America or China.